whenever I have downtime as a business owner, that's the time I do more content creation and digital marketing. So I created a video about vision boarding. I do a lot of vision board workshops. I'm doing one this Saturday for a private group. And I put it on YouTube. I put it on Instagram. And I remember I got a call from NASA and I thought it was a joke. I was like, Houston, do we have a budget?
Your relationship with money matters. I'm Michelle Perkins, and this is the Money and You podcast, where I will be breaking down your relationship with money, offering tough love money tips, and a money dating plan that will focus on lifting the barriers to success to help pave the way for better money practices and increased wealth. It's time to take control to live a limit-free life. It starts today. Hello. I'm Michelle Perkins, the host of the Money and You Show, and I am super excited. I have one of my favorite people as our guest today, which is so exciting. So I'm going to introduce you to somebody who's been on my show way back when it was the Limit Free Life show. She came on a couple of times, and today she always has new topics. She's always learning new things. And so Deborah Deras is going to join us again today. And I can promise you a high vibe kind of show today, and you're going to learn a lot. So Deborah Deras stands as a pioneering voice for AI in small businesses. As the founder of Synergy Unlimited LLC, she brings over 25 years of expertise in offering transformative corporate training, consulting, and keynote speeches to a diverse range of businesses and associations. With a master's degree in education and bachelor's in marketing, her seamless transition to teaching AI is backed by a remarkable 16-year tenure as a professor. Deborah's influence in AI extends to her distinguished presentations at the AI conference in Santa Barbara City College, sessions hosted by the Small Business Development Center at Long Beach City College, engagements at the Arkansas Small Business and Technology Center, and a series of AI virtual trainings tailored for small business owners. These sessions are designed to demystify AI tools, streamlining the learning process and helping businesses discern which tools can truly drive their growth. She is currently creating AI curriculum for Santa Barbara City College for their extended learning school and will be facilitating classes both in person and online at the university. Every presentation by Ms. Deras is enriched with real-world examples, insightful case studies, valuable resources, and a touch of humor. The approach ensures her audience, whether online or in person, remains captivated and informed. And her mission, I won't skip this part, her mission is unequivocal. To revolutionize how small business operates, enhancing their efficiency and scaling their economic growth through strategic AI tools and methodologies. Welcome, Deborah.
Welcome. Thank you so much for that. That's my actual AI bio.
I know. I knew, but it was so good. I was like, Where should I stop? But I didn't want to stop. So anyway, you have so much that you offer, and we're not even going to focus on AI today.
I know we could, but we're not. Sorry. Next show. That's a teaser.
But I do want people to know that this is something that you have a lot of expertise in and that you're teaching, because it's something that everybody needs, I think, today. So,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'd love for you to actually, kind of tell people, how you can help them in that arena. But we're going to start with something that you have done for years, something that you're amazing at, something that I have learned from you, especially recently with a course I just took from you, actually, on speaking. So why don't you give us some background on how you got into your speaking career?
Yeah, one of the questions that people always ask, because nobody thinks when they're younger, oh, when I grow up, I'm going to be a motivational speaker like Tony Robbins. Maybe some of the younger whippersnappers nowadays, they do. They think, I want to be a masterful speaker, but I always wanted to be a teacher. When I was a kid, all the kids in the neighborhood and I would play school, and I would always be the teacher, and I'd be standing in front of the class, and who knows what I was teaching them. But I always felt that I would be inspired by helping other people to learn something new, to be able to have new knowledge. And I believe that knowledge not only is power, but knowledge is your way to abundance. when we talk about money and you, it's not just reading books and taking classes, but actually applying it so that you can monetize it. So as a natural born teacher, just started doing that as a kid. And then I went to school for marketing. And then suddenly we all have these life experiences that change our course. My brother suddenly passed away of an epileptic seizure. He was 16 and I was 19. And at that point, I was like, I don't even want to live. This life is cruel and evil that they could take such a loving being like my brother. And he came to me in a dream and he told me, he's like, you have a mission and you're here to teach and you're here to speak. And I woke up the next day and instead of being totally depressed and, not wanting to be here, I was totally inspired and on a mission to help as many people as I can with what I don't know. And that's a great money and you tip of the day. It's not necessarily, it's about following our intuitive guidance. And sometimes it doesn't make sense to us. Right. But when we listen, hear, and take inspired action, we'll be able to be on our path to our purpose. And we're on our path to our purpose, we will be abundant. It's just the net result of that. So I just started following the guidance and I, ended up still going to school. And instead of doing marketing, I was helping people with disabilities. So I changed over to education, got my master's in education, but with an emphasis on special education, went to work for the Department of Rehabilitation to help people with disabilities get jobs. And as soon as I got there, I ended up teaching other staff how to be better at helping people get jobs. So I was always training the trainer and I was really young, like 23, 24 doing that. And then I became a professor at 26 teaching human services because I love teaching. And when you do what you love, you will be abundant, right? When you do what you love, you will be abundant. Focus on the love, not on the money. That's what I say. I don't know if you agree, Michelle.
I love that. And I know kind of, you could focus on love, or kind of the go-to if you're not focused on love is to focus on fear. And of course, that is not where you want to be in any area of your life, but particularly money.
Exactly. And so when I was at the Department of Rehabilitation, I realized that most of the people working there were fear-based. And they were doing that because there were 3 ways you escaped that job. You either died,
Wow.
And then they cleaned out your desk and they were just on to the next person, or you went on disability because you were so stressed out by the work, or you worked for 40 years and waited to live passionate living 40 years from now. And I was only 26 at the time. So I was like, I cannot wait 40 years to start living a passionate life. So I started this little side hustle, as the young people would call it. And it was called Passionate Living Now. And it was like a life coaching business. What did a person 26 years old know about life? I knew a lot from my brother having passed away and being able to be seeing that life is not finite, but it's infinite, because I felt like my brother was still with me. He was still guiding me. And just because his body wasn't here, his soul was still guiding me, and I realized that time wasn't promised. The next day wasn't promised, that I needed to overcome my fears and go after it. If you want to do something, do it. And so because my life coaching business started growing little by little, I eventually started going from full-time to part-time on this job. And I was so good at what I did and efficient what I did that they let me. I was able to work from home even back in the early 2000s.
Wow.
And in 2002, I quit my job and I went full time as a professional speaker. And I still do consulting, not life coaching, but business coaching. And I teach AI and I teach social media marketing and I teach speaking. And I'm just so grateful that I get to do what I love.
Yeah, Deborah, thank you for all of that. That was just beautiful. And, one thing that you said, you were offering a money and you tip. And I say in the intro that, there's a tough love money tip. And I think what you said is a tough love money tip because it's not easy to go with your intuition. It can be uncomfortable. Other people are telling you you're crazy. I mean, there's a lot to that. It sounds cool, like just follow your intuition, but there's so much resistance that comes up when you try to do that, and you're excellent at it. So I don't know maybe some people aren't quite as in touch with their intuition. I think that's natural for you. But for people who might hear a lot of voices and go, I don't know which one is my intuition, my mom, what's going on here? What can you say to that might help people?
Oh my God, that's such a great question. Do you know my mom had me in intuition class when I was 8 years old?
I knew that. That's so amazing.
A lot of things that people think, they're like, oh, you're such a natural speaker, or you're so natural with your intuition. Everything that people think are natural, I've taken classes like, oh, you're such a great salsa dancer. I'm like, I took 4 classes for 12 years, 4 classes a week for 12 years. So I'm actually writing a new book. It's called Your Ego is Not Your Amigo, How to Tune into Your Intuitive Guidance System to Create a Life You Love. And in the book, I teach people how to tell the difference between their ego and their intuition. So your ego is fear-based, and but it's fear-based, not like a bad fear, but like a little puppy that's anxious because it doesn't know this world, right? Having a new puppy, I've been able to learn more about my own ego. It's so funny. So it's not a bad fear. It's just, it wants to protect and keep you safe. And so your ego is always going to respond from a place of perceived safety, right? And your intuition is not a loud voice necessarily. It's usually a gut feeling, right? So when you want to go somewhere, you may get a sinking feeling in your stomach, or your heart might start to beat faster, or you get goosebumps that it's like, something's going to go on, right? So it's more of a sensation, your intuitive guidance system. And it takes practice to be still to listen to it. But what happens, the more you do practices that I can teach in another podcast, or on this podcast, if you want to switch over there, your ego voice will get lower. And then you'll be able to really tune in. A really simple way that I'm able to understand my intuition is if I'm asked to do something like, Deborah, do you want to be on a podcast? And I feel expansive, like open. And like if you're like on a beach and you feel just open wind in your hair like this, and the water flowing and you just feel open, that's yes. If you ask the question, do you want to be on a podcast, and you feel contracted and you feel like suffocated, then that's a no. And your fear will tell you, which is different than the feeling. Your fear might say, oh, but who wants to listen to you? And what do you have to say? Then you just say, ego, you're not my amigo. And you listen to the feeling. So rather than listening to the little voice that's going to always have you play small and tell you not to go out of your comfort zone. Dr. Joe Dispenza, one of my master teachers, says that the transformation happens and your expansion to the next level in your money, whatever that is, your money freedom, your money income bracket, your money expansion, is to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's where your breakthrough is going to happen.
So beautiful. I could listen to you all day. I love everything that you have to say. And I do think it would be great. Actually, when you were talking about that, I'm like, where is your ego, not your amigo, in money? And I think we need to do a whole show on that, actually. But
yes.
But I promised something about speaking, so I'm not going to go there right now, but I'll talk to you about that later. That would be fun.
We can go there if you want and come back to speaking. I mean,
well, let's just kind of tell the audience, since it's a money show, why are we talking about speaking? And from my perspective, speaking is, of course, a way to make money. It's also all on its own, and you can talk about that. But it's also just a way to grow your own business, your own brand, whatever it is. And still to this day, it is one of those things where I think that it's super effective. Partly, and I'd rather have, your insights into this, but I'm assuming partly because it's still hard to do. I mean, it's still hard for people to get on a stage and give a talk. And when you do, you have some instant connections. So it's a marketing, it's a really great marketing tool. But why else should kind of everybody, no matter what you do? Because I know when I took your class, the people in the class had very different kind of jobs, or businesses. And yet everybody was finding ways to use the information. So maybe you want to just talk for a minute about the class that you gave that I just took, and kind of what your intention was for that.
Yes. So let's start with your first question with how could everybody use speaking? Why should everyone use speaking? So even if you are an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, public speaking and the ability to be able to speak, to influence, to speak, to persuade could help you when you're speaking up at a business meeting, if you're in a corporate job. It can help you if you are a startup with a new idea and you want to give a pitch to potential investors. It can help you if you're an entrepreneur and you're at a networking meeting and you have to do an 30-second elevator pitch and you want to be able to let people know who you are, what you do, and be memorable. And also, if you want to be a paid public speaker, one of the gifts I'm going to give all of the people here is I have 72 episodes of a podcast called Be a Paid Speaker Now. And I'll give you a link to all those episodes on YouTube, Michelle.
Thank you.
So you can put it in the show notes and then you can go back and listen to those episodes. I basically interviewed all of my mentors, people that I admired in the public speaking world that are making big bucks. And they were talking not just only how they did it, but some of the ways they prepared and dealt with anxiety when it comes to speaking. So the reason I started my speaking series, so I have a series, it's called Monetize Your Magnificence. So back to money, monetize your magnificence, because I believe you can be abundantly paid to make money doing what you love. That's what my initial company, Passionate Living Now, 2002, that's what it was about. How to make money doing what you love. Because back when I first started my career, they literally told me when I was in social services, well, either you can help people or you can make money. Right. That's what people told me. And I was denying that. I'm like, I don't agree. I decline that limiting belief of yours. I don't believe you can either make money or help people. I want to help people make money and also make money. Because if I don't make money, I'm not going to be able to serve anybody, right? Because I'm going to be, at my low level of vibration. So Monetize Your Magnificence is a 3-part program, and one part is elevating your public speaking, being a better speaker, learning how to present, learning how to get rid of your anxiety, learning how to present on stage. I have another cohort that's on how to market your speaking, because I taught digital marketing for 12 years, how to make money. This is what I love about Money and You, how to make money without spending money. So it would hurt my soul because a lot of small businesses would spend money on ads. I would like to say waste money on ads, because they weren't getting a return on their investment, or they would waste money and hire a marketing company or a publicity company and it wasn't returning to them. So I was teaching, or I am still teaching, small businesses and solopreneurs how to use digital marketing and just natural organic marketing to make money. How I built my business was through Meetup, Facebook, email, YouTube, etc. Right? So all the ways that you can share information and really solve the pain and problem that your target market has, and do that organically in social media, make money. Then the final cohort, which I'm super excited. In fact, I have one for, even if you don't want to learn the business of speaking, I have 2 cohorts. One is on AI for public speakers, how to make AI your speaking agent. And I have another one that's starting in August, AI for solopreneurs. That's how to use AI, like what is AI and how to get it to make money for you. So everything I teach, believe it or not, is about helping people to make more money, but to make more money with ease and grace. Because when I first started my career, I thought you needed to suffer and sacrifice to make money and kill yourself. And I ended up in the hospital on burnout. And now I know there's an easier way. And so that's what I teach.
Yeah, and I got so much out of your course, and I especially loved the AI information, because I've been using it much more than I had. I don't know, I felt like a weird resistance to it until I took your class, and then I saw all the ways that it can just help you in your business, and it's pretty phenomenal. And now as I'm doing things, I'll think about, I need help with this or I need help with that. And, for better or for worse, some of it I could give to a person, but some of it I can just get some help from AI. And
right.
So anyway, it really opened my eyes. You were doing amazing things with it. I mean, the presentations you built with it, everything else I thought were so impressive. But it was, a lot of great information, a lot of cost savings for business owners or for anyone, really.
Tremendous. Like going from maybe spending $2,000 to $3,000 a month on a marketing advertising team to maybe $100 a month by using AI tools. Like that's the shift that I made.
And really, it extends beyond. I mean, I've seen my son using it for tutoring for college classes. And the AI tutor is like kind of amazing. And
oh, really?
I remember how much money I spent on tutoring in high school. And it's like, wow. I mean, you can get great tutoring for free.
I had no idea.
Yeah, no, there's all kinds of crazy things. So, if you're talking about cost savings, get creative with AI and see how you can possibly save some money by using it in a variety of ways. So that's really interesting. And the speaking, I feel like we're speaking all the time. We're using it all the time. But it's a consciousness thing too, just like with money. Sometimes we aren't really paying attention to how we could use it to help us make more money, for example. And so I think, it's great that you really help people kind of figure that out. I do think people who are willing to speak, and there's such a spectrum there. And I'm really a person who always said, in my future, any job, any business, whatever will be fine as long as I don't have to speak. And some of the most successful coaches I know and that I've learned from have been amazing speakers, but have all talked about the fact that they were petrified to speak. I mean, it was like the last thing they thought they would ever be doing was be on a stage. And, the two of them that I'm thinking about were both on big stages and doing amazing things. But so it built their businesses. The speaking is what made it work. So, what belief system do you need to be able to get yourself to use this to make more money? And I'm just going to interrupt you. I'm so sorry. I don't like doing that, but it doesn't matter what business you're in. I mean, I can envision it for pretty much anybody. I mean,
oh yeah, because anybody that has to talk at their job. So when it comes to the fear of speaking, when I told you I had that dream and my brother said I was here to teach, I didn't consider myself from that moment like to be a confident speaker or ready to go speak on a stage. I never thought of myself speaking on a stage, but I truly believe in having mentors. And one of my mentors had told me that he had a vision that I should go to Toastmasters, right? And so I started going to Toastmasters, not to become a professional speaker, but just to improve my ability to speak at networking meetings. Because when I was in my 20s and 30s, and even now, like that imposter syndrome was real. And I'm like, well, who am I to be an entrepreneur? Who am I to be this? Or who am I to be that? And so the number one thing that Toastmasters does, and I highly recommend it, it's different than my program. Toastmasters is a nonprofit organization just to practice speaking, like a comedian would practice going to nightclubs, being live in front of an audience. Toastmasters, you're practicing. Mine is teaching more the logistics of speaking and, how to master the stage and how to do presentations and how to interact with the audience and how to market and all of that kind of stuff. But just practicing speaking, Toastmasters is amazing for that. I went to Toastmasters, and within a few years of Toastmasters, again, I was focused and committed to it. I did it twice a week for about 4 or 5 years, speaking every single time, building up my confidence. And then someone in the audience of Toastmasters said, well, how much do you charge to speak? And I was like, people get paid to speak? And then they offered me a speaking. And from the audience of that first speaking, I got more and more speaking opportunities, because anytime that you're speaking, you're leading and influencing. And if you have the ability to lead and influence, whether you're running a business and you're trying to get your business to the next level, getting investors, getting funding, getting your customers to buy into you because you're creating content online, it will help you. Or if you're within a career and you're speaking up at that board meeting, or you're asking your supervisor, or you're leading a team, your confidence in your speaking is going to make all the difference. And 75% of people, their biggest fear above death is speaking. Mm-hmm. So if you have a fear of speaking, you're not alone, but the only way to overcome that is to face it, is to get in it and to speak, you know?
Yeah.
That's where the transformation happens, in doing it.
That's great. And so should you get paid to speak? If somebody, I know obviously people do a lot of speaking that is unpaid, and then some people do get paid to speak. How do you cross that line, or what should you speak for free for and what not? Are there some rules?
Yeah, well, if you are an entrepreneur, let's just talk entrepreneurship, just to use that as an example. It's a great idea to speak for free if you are in front of an audience that wants to know about your products or services, right? Because that's an opportunity to be able to get visibility. So I was at a NABO, which is National Association of Women Business Owners, and there was an attorney that was most likely speaking pro bono on the topic of AI. And what were the legal implications? Why was she doing that? Because a lot of the people in the audience could hire her. So you definitely would speak for marketing your business, marketing your services, here's the criteria, if the people in the audience had the ability to either refer you, paid business, hire you themselves, or if speaking at that conference would give you notoriety and influence so that you can get future gigs. Like, I spoke pro bono at an AI conference because I knew the people in the audience were decision makers. As a result of, and I did that speaking on Zoom, which we could talk about, speaking on Zoom and speaking live. And I do teach that in my course, the difference in how to change your way of speaking and interaction and engagement. But long story short, that's how I got hired with Santa Barbara City College, which is a huge, big new source of revenue for me that I never would have gotten if I said, no, I can't speak. So the basic simple answer is you would speak pro bono if there was a benefit to you as a business, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't do it. I mean, and then some people who are just, philanthropists, and they're, economically abundant, and they just want to give back and speak for the community. Like, maybe it's an astronaut and he wants to inspire other young people in an urban community to become astronauts. And, that's a different thing. But if you are, and this is where you have to really acknowledge and know your worth. If you are an expert in your field, you have 2 decades, 3 decades of experience, and maybe even 15 years of experience, you are what's considered an expert, right? And so you have a lot of value. So you are worthy of being paid. You just need to position yourself, and you need to speak at places that have the budget to pay you. And that's part of what I teach in the marketing, Monetize Your Magnificence course. So, how to market yourself to those people and get clarity on where those people are.
And, just maybe a couple examples or a case study on one, like, where is it where people do have a budget to bring speakers in?
Well, one of the things you want to consider is, if you're going to speak to a local small women's group, right? They're not going to have a budget because they're not charging people a great deal of money to come in. But if you have that same group and they haven't, I'll give you an example with my college groups. So a lot of times Latina sororities might want to bring me in to be an empowerment speaker, but because they have limited funds, they're like a local group out of a specific college, they may ask the regional group to bring me in or the national conference to bring me in because they have sponsors. They fundraise all year long and they get sponsors, and then a sponsor will pay my speaking fee. So one of the things I always tell new speakers is don't believe when nonprofits say that they don't have a budget, because they will find $4,000 to pay for coffee and catering. So it's not that they don't have a budget. It just may be allocated to something else. And I spoke at a nonprofit and they had me and Stedman Graham, and they had a budget for a limo and a hotel and this and that. And so you want to, and this is one of the things I teach as well. Once you understand that if you want to become a professional speaker, the business of speaking, and understand the industry, then one of the things I teach in the AI course is how to do the market research to find the places that have a budget to pay you what you're worth, and to know what are speakers worth? How much do they get paid? So you know your value. And there is a formula for that.
Yeah, I loved the stories that you told about some of your speaking engagements. I'd love it if you'd share just a few of the engagements that you've had and sort of how you got selected. I just think that for me, a bunch of light bulbs went off when you were talking about some of the things that had, happened for you.
It's kind of funny because I'm just kind of laughing about not just, the strategy for marketing and AI, but a lot of it is mindset. It's like, what you think about, you bring about, right? So I remember when I first got my AARP card, I was like, okay, you're saying I'm a senior citizen. I better get some discounts on this. I'm like, well, I better make AARP my client. And then like 2 weeks later, I got an email from one of my clients saying they had recommended me for AARP. And then I did a speaking engagement for AARP. And then I said, and this happened in December, some Netflix changed their policies, and my dad, because we're in a different household, we couldn't be together on our Netflix. So I got my Netflix on my own, right? And I said, okay, well, I guess Netflix is going to be my client. Next thing you know, Netflix is my new client, because I had spoken for Viacom, and then Viacom had recommended me to Netflix. Another great story is I remember whenever I have downtime as a business owner, that's the time I do more content creation and digital marketing. So I created a video about vision boarding. I do a lot of vision board workshops. I'm doing one this Saturday for a private group. And I put it on YouTube. I put it on Instagram. And I remember I got a call from NASA, and I thought it was a joke. I was like, Houston, do we have a budget? The power of SEO. I teach about that too. Search engine optimization and how to be found through keywords. That's another monetization tool we can talk about some other time. So like Michelle says, I teach a lot because I learn a lot. I basically don't watch that much Netflix, just a little bit of Netflix, not too much. It's just enough. And the rest of the time I'm learning, right? I'm learning new videos. So I got booked at NASA. So, my AARP, my NASA, one more really cool one. This is just kind of funny. I just think that the universe has a sense of humor, because I do a lot of inner work to get my mindset aligned to overcome my fear and my imposter syndrome. And I was speaking at a lot of churches, but they were paying very low fees, $150, $250. It wasn't really worth the gas sometimes with getting up there and back and forth and the time and the energy. And I was like, gosh, I love it. And I'll do it for philanthropic work, but I just need a church with a budget. And I had done a video because I really believe in putting yourself out there. If you want to get paid to speak, then create videos with you speaking. That's your audition. That's your audience. And I put this video out of me speaking, and one of my clients said, oh, I want to pitch you for a franchise. Will you do franchise work? I'm like, sure. What's the name of the company? And she said, Church's Chicken. And they had a big budget, and I spoke at their franchise conference. So those are just some of my stories of like manifestation of, just speak it and then it coming to play. Yes, I do a lot of mindset work. Yes, I do marketing and AI, but part of it is just believing in yourself,
Wow. This is so good because, of course, this whole show is, about your relationship with money and money mindset and some practical things. So you're really touching on how mindset comes into play everywhere. And just putting it out there of what you want, it works the same with money. And I also just want to touch on for a minute. Well, I want to talk about two things. One, and we don't have very much time. So, the pricing, what was your mindset earlier on? What is your mindset now around pricing your speaking? We'll start there.
Yes. So when I first started and, my first gig I got paid for was like $250 for 45 minutes. And I was like, oh my God, I'm rich. This is awesome. And I, just assumed that would be my new hourly rate for always. And I realized, you had to do some work and effort to, get your speaking gigs. But what I realized was it's not an hourly rate. When you're a paid public speaker, it's not based on the hour because we're no longer exchanging time for money. You're paid for your expertise. You're paid for your knowledge. You're paid for your wisdom. You're paid for your experience because what you're going to say in the 45 minutes, whether it's educational, informational, inspirational, or motivational, you're going to bring so much value. And if you have a big social media following, you could also have the influence to put people in seats. So a lot of times influencers and celebrities will get brought in for speaking because they bring the audience. If the conference doesn't already have an audience that's employees or association members, if it's just a general public event. So for number one, you want to realize you're not exchanging time for money. You're not paid by the hour. You are paid by your expertise. So and the rates for speaking depends on your experience, right? Mm-hmm. So beginner speakers make from like $250 to $2,500. Middle speakers make from like $2,500 to $5,000. And then experienced speakers make $10,000 on up.
Yeah.
I heard Rihanna was paid like $1 million for something, Beyonce, wow. It's not speaking, it's singing, but sky's the limit. And that's the wonderful thing about speaking. It's limitless, right? So it's limit free.
Yeah.
So there are no limits, but your ability, of your ability to share your knowledge. And I believe that everyone is a messenger for a very important message, and you deserve, and people deserve to hear it.
Yeah. Thank you, Deborah. That's great. And I think that really speaks to, once you get rolling with this, if you choose to do it, to getting to know your worth so that you can feel comfortable enough to ask for, what you want.
And to do the market research to find out the value because things have changed.
Yeah.
And now that things are virtual, some people think they need to lower their fees, but that may not be the case because it's the same value. Mm-hmm. But since the pandemic, fees have changed as well. So I'm putting in a proposal right now and I'm waiting to find out what the going rate is so I do the right amount. Because if you're too low, then they think, oh, she's probably not good enough. And if you're too high, you price yourself out. So part of it is finding that sweet spot so that you get the gig.
Yeah, that's fabulous. One other thing that I just want to point out, you brought up a couple of times being a Latina speaker. That is very intentional how you have kind of, defined yourself in this realm. So can you just speak for a minute on, why aren't you just a great speaker to everybody?
Right. Exactly. So one of the things I teach in the program, the Monetize Your Magnificence program, is about really clarity on your niche. I tell them the niches are in the riches, right? The riches are in the niches. The niches are where you are able to focus your energy and time. So if I were to say I'm a motivational speaker, that's generic. Who is paid more, the specialist or the generalist? Always the specialist, right? And so as Latina speaker and peak performance Latina speaker, I'm able to focus on an area of professionals, Latina, Latinx professionals, right? When I went into Netflix, Viacom, NASA, that's how I got in the door. Once I get in the side door, then I can get in the front door. But if I say I'm a motivational speaker, then I am lost in Google search with Tony Robbins, Les Brown, and all of the greats of all time, right? So we need to really identify where is our niche so that we can focus our time and energy on that, because we can't be everything to everyone or we're nothing to no one. So having that Latina speaker niche really helped me to get in many, many doors.
Yeah, thank you. Great information. And that was a big part of the course that really was so impactful, actually, how to think about yourself that way and how to kind of narrow down who your audience is and who you are. So, yes. Well, unfortunately, we're running out of time here, but you are one of the greats and you're a beautiful speaker. And I remember you were on Zoom, and I think my husband walked by and literally said, "Oh my gosh, whose voice is that? She needs to be on the radio." And I never forgot that, because you are a brilliant speaker and you do have a beautiful voice. So, but these are all things that you can teach others to be better at or with, or whatever the grammar is.
Yes, everything's learned. Yeah. Nothing is, you're either born with it, you're lucky, you just have it. Everything can be developed and learned. That's a growth mindset that you can learn and grow.
Yeah. Same with money. So you can learn and grow with all of it. So, and nobody's born knowing that either. So, okay, Deborah, how can people find you? How can they sign up for something with you? I will put the link to all the fabulous speaking podcasts that you've offered. Thank you so much.
Yes. I'll give you that YouTube
and that'll be in the
playlist.
Show notes.
So if anyone is interested, you can go to deborahderas.com. Just click Mastermind. You'll see all the groups that we have. Elevate your public speaking, market your public speaking, AI for public speaking. And if you have no interest in speaking and you're just a solopreneur, you have a side hustle, you're a small business, I have an AI course for solopreneurs. And then you could always just have a complimentary coaching session with me. There's a link at the bottom of the pages to schedule and see if you wanted to work with me one-on-one, just to increase your revenue, to monetize your magnificence. I'm here to help you.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's so generous. And just so listeners know, you have been working with the SBA too for as long as I've known you, I think. So you have coached many, 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 many entrepreneurs.
I think like 12 years I've been working with small businesses to grow their revenue.
Yeah. So as great as your speaking knowledge is, your small business expertise is quite expansive. So,
but 3 of the SBAs I got through speaking.
Yeah.
At a conference. They saw me speaking.
There you go. There you go.
There you go.
Okay. So listeners, thank you so much for being here with the Money and You show with us today. I just love having you listen to the show. Try to bring you a real diverse group of guests and also solo shows to help you learn more about both your relationship with money and practical financial freedom techniques that you can use to grow a more limit-free life. So if you like the show, please share it with a friend. Please give us a review or a rating on any of the podcast platforms that you're listening to. We so appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.